welcome back to the Save the Frogs World Summit Online 2022. We've got Razzaq Sarker from Bangladesh, currently living in Australia, and he spoke at our Save the Frogs World Summit in Calcutta, India, and has been involved with Save the Frogs through Save the Frogs Bangladesh for many years, and it's great to have him here. Take it away.
Yeah, so can you see my screen now? All clear?
Yes.
Awesome. Hi everybody, I'm Razzaq Sarker. So I've recently completed my study at the University of New England, studying frogs using the technology like the acoustic recorder. So here I'm going to talk about a bit about my research and what I did and what is my findings on my research. So before starting, I would like to thank a number of people helping with this study. And I would also like to pay my respect to Anoan people, the traditional owner of the lands where I work and live, and pay my respect to the elders past, present, and future. So before going to talk about how frogs respond to environmental water, I'm going to give you a bit of introduction about what is the environmental water is. So in Australia, the environmental water is allocated to manage the rivers and associated wetlands. It helps to restore and improve the river system and the floodplain wetlands and other creeks and lagoons around the river. It also helps to provide quality habitat, the aquatic species living in the rivers and floodplain wetlands. So why it is important for frogs living in the wetland ecosystem? Because frogs are very helpful for decomposing the insects. It helps to recycle the nutrients cycle and it helps to transfer the energy between the aquatic and terrestrial ecosystem. But there are a number of factors that affect frog population in living in floodplain wetlands, like hydroperiod, flooding frequencies, water permanency, water depth, and the seasonal inundation. However, there are limited knowledge still how different hydrological factors affect frog population living in floodplain wetlands. So we still have no idea about how frogs are responding to wetting and drying cycle. Especially in Australia, we have experienced a severe drought in 2019 and 20. So that was our primary objective of my study, to see how frogs are doing with the slow rainfall season and how they're responding to wetting and drying cycle. So, and I use this acoustic monitoring method, useful to study and to learn more about how frogs are responding to wetting and drying cycle. Sorry. Yeah, so my aim of the study was to just compare frog crossing activity. So there were frogs in wetlands and different sites. So my aim was to understand how frogs are responding to inundation from the river flows. So why acoustic signal is important? Why frog acoustic signal is important to the people or researcher who is studying frogs? Because acoustic signal help us to detect frog species, because the frog calling are very species specific, and it also help us to detect any presence or absence of species in any water bodies or any habitats. And it also help us to understand their abundance in certain area, and it also help us to understand how they respond and how they communicate each other. For example, recently a study found that a female distracted by surrounding traffic noise choose an attractive female. That means there is something happening with the surrounding noise in the breeding biology of frogs. How different environmental factors affect frog crossing activity. Like frogs are very sensitive to temperature, so therefore different frog has different adaptation to thermal to temperature. Some frogs call in winter, or some frogs call in summer only. And also there are frogs that only call during their own respective season. And also there are some frogs, they only call when there is huge rain in their habitat. However, there are few studies that accounted on long-term study on how frog responding to different environmental factor. Previous study has shown like the short-term period or short-term presence or absence study, or counting presence and absence of frog or male frog in long-term duration, or how frogs are doing in overnight and their nightly calling pattern. So my study site was in a New England region here in Australia, which is a bordering area near New South Wales and Queensland area. So I have chosen like 6 sites to record frog calling, and these sites are I have chosen because the sites are dry before flow arrives to the site, or held some shallow water, so there are some frogs calling before flow arrives. So this intermittent regulated flow made this system ideal to test how frogs responding to inundation when flow arrives to the sites. So I used this bioacoustic recorder, and I recorded 14 hours of recording starting from evening to the next day morning, continuous calling. And I was especially interested on the how frogs are responding to inundation, like flooding of the sites, and also daily temperature and daily rainfall. So in Australia, government releases water into the river system when there is severe drought or there is no water in the river system or the floodplain system. So I followed this water release event and studied how frogs are responding to these river flows or environmental water delivery. Here it is. So I use this kind of new technology things to study the long-term duration of frog calling. So this is called false color spectrogram. This is very useful to detect frog calling in a single image sheet. So I will give you more explanation on this in a minute. So to detect frog call and calculate their calling duration, analysis their choruses, so I use different software. Like for the false color spectrogram, I use the QUT Acoustic audio analysis software, and I use Raven Pro and also the Audacity software to measure the frog call and to analyze their call duration. And finally, I used mixed effect model, that is a statistical model in our statistical environment with the to understand statistically so how different factor like flow and rainfall and temperature affecting frog chorusing activity. So when you take the call record into Raven Pro, so or in the Audacity, it will look like this. So this is how we measure frog calling and how we detect different frequencies of frog calls in this Raven Pro or Audacity software. The false color spectrogram is an image that gives you different color based on frequency of different frogs or any other animal that you got the recording for in your recording, and so that you can detect so you can pick up a color and then listen back, what is this calling, then okay, this is that frog, so this color represent to that. This is how you learn first, and then you study other nights for your analysis. So what I found, this is a very short period of study. So within this time, I found like 9 frog species. So, and I got highest frog richness in one site compared to other, and also I found that the frog richness increased after the inundation, but this richness was not affected by rainfall or temperature. So when I was doing this mixed effect model in a statistical environment with the enough sample size I got for for 4 species, so I found that the calling of Limnodynastis tasmaniensis species increased when flow arrives to the site, whereas the uh, calling of Limnodynastis fletcher I call decreased when flow arrives to the site. But other species like littoral Latopalmata or Peroni species, they are not affected by flow, rain, and temperature. This is based on statistical analysis. Um, and also there are some other scenario I found when I was analyzing the data. So I found some frogs only call before flow arrived, and when there are when but not they did not call after flow arrived. This is happened because maybe there are some frogs they prefer to stay in shallow water. Sorry, but when flow arrived to the site, it got deeper, so frog moved to other nearby shallow waters, and and which precluded to record their calling in our recorder. That's why we maybe got the negative calling of some froggy species after flow arrived to the sites. So here is the summary of my findings. So we found that uh, flow support higher froglessness because when flow arrived to the sites, we got lots of species calling, and also we found that the variation. So this flow arrival of flow into the sites, we got that there are differential effect on frog chorusing pattern and within sites or among the species. And as I said before, there are some species which we found that they have positive relationship with the arrival of flow, and some had the negative relationship with arrival of flow. But it is very important to our understanding that we selected 6 sites for a study. One of them was a floodplain wetland sites, and others like creek or lagoon sites. So among the sites, floodplain wetland sites were support a higher frog species compared to other sites. However, still have some limitation in our study because this is a short-term study and we used a single recorder in each site to record frog call. So that's why we may get some false positive or negative result, and also we did not account the how movement of frog calling after frogs after arrival of flow into the sites. So that's all. Sorry, I was a bit rushed maybe to finish early. Yep. Any question? Thank you.
All right, thanks, Razzaq. Anyone out there, if you have questions about bioacoustic monitoring of frogs or water flows, amphibians in relation to their climatic environment, send in a chat. Let us know.
Hi, how are y'all doing? Can you hear me?
I'm doing good. Yeah.
I'm good. Thanks, mate. Oh, okay.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your research. It's really cool to do this virtually and get to talk to people doing research in Australia. I work in the United States, and
Yep.
I'm researching a similar question to you on how water level changes influence frogs. And I'm also using call recorders.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
So I was curious, how did you quantify the data? So did you actually listen through each recording? And
It's gonna take ages for listening and recording this stuff. So I used as I mentioned in my slide, I used one software that developed by one university here in Australia.
uh-huh.
Yeah. So yeah, I can share. I can give you some details if you are interested. Yeah, there is a software that I analyze my long duration data, and that gives me the false color spectrogram, which I use to actually detect frog species based on the color and shape and how long they call. My intention was to just detect the species and how long they call overnight. So as I like, let me share the screen again. Yeah.
Yeah, so this, does it automatically tell you which species were
Yeah,
there?
so when you run this software, it will give you these sort of images, and
Okay.
and then you can like where the different color they represent different species. So you have to firstly you have to just learn the things which color represent which species, and then when you got lots of like 4 or 5 nights or 1 month recording, and you got each of you got a false color spectrogram image like this for each of your recording, then you just go through the images and just pick up the colors. Okay,
Yeah,
this
so you
yellow,
drew each of those boxes.
yeah, I drew these boxes, yeah,
Wow.
to show you which color represent which species. Like the red one represent the Victoria peroni species, which is very popular in Australia, and you can hear them calling anywhere you are. And like the yellow one represent other species, but most of the frogs call their frequency range was between 4,000 to 500.
Yeah.
So you can find this is the frequency ranges here.
Yeah.
So this way, so you can just detect the species and you can calculate. Okay, these start calling like 8 p.m. in the night and finish at 11 p.m. So this species called like 3 hours. And yeah, like this, So
So
what's
you're measuring like the reproductive effort, how long they're calling, not
yeah, so
necessarily
how
how
long they
many.
call, like, so yeah. So my
Yeah.
intention was just to understand how when the site was dry and when the site was filled with water. I did not include the water depth. Maybe I'll do that later if I got get the opportunity to study this system.
Yeah, because really what we're finding is the deeper the water, the
Oh,
more the fish can get in there. And once the
yeah,
fish are
so
in,
yeah,
frogs don't do
so
so well.
yeah, I'm writing the article will be soon be published. So this is
Okay.
this is the software I used for my analysis.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah,
Cool.
you can find it online. So it's free to use. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look into it. Yeah, thanks for sharing your work.
No
Yeah, I
worries.
hope it gets published.
Yeah, I'm very interested to learn more about your research because yeah, this is very interesting. You included depth of water, right? Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, we have swamps here that got drained for agriculture, and the stuff that's left is 5% of what there was, and so they're trying to kind of refill them in, but they don't know how that's actually if it's helping.
So, so
Acting frogs.
are you recording long term frog call or just
Yeah, so I'm gonna actually I already have 1 year of recording. I'm recording them now this year, and I'm gonna record next year. So I'm gonna have 3 years of recording data.
Yeah, awesome.
And right now I've just been going through it and using an index of basically the peak calling. So when when the most frogs are calling and then when few frogs are calling. Because I have issues where some species call within the same frequency.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very overlapping, but this false color spectrogram is really helpful. So yeah, if you need any help, just let me know. I'll be happy to help you with this.
Okay.
Yeah, so there is my email ID, and you just shoot me an email if you have any more questions. Yeah.
I put Razzaq's contact info into the chat. I'm curious, Adrian, where are you located?
I'm in Southern Illinois.
Okay. All right. The Salukis? Are you a Saluki?
Yep, the Salukis, yeah.
Okay, cool. I visited Carbondale long ago. Actually one of the best spots in, I'll say, the Midwest for forest.
Yeah. So I work in the Cache River, which is the northernmost cypress tupelo swamp in the country.
All right, nice. Okay, good. All right, thank you so much, Razzaq, for
thanks, Corey,
telling us about your work. Good luck with everything.
Thank you. And yep, okay.